Hey COCA fam, it's your favorite fashion teacher here, Lauren. I am going to be bringing you a step-by-step tutorial of how to create DIY medical face masks, either for you or to help donate to the cause for the hospitals that are in crisis and in need of these face masks. I've scoured the internet. This seems to be the most simple pattern to use. This is something that I would use for students in the classroom to make. There are a million different ways to make these, but I found this to be the most simple and efficient way to make these. So stay tuned. I've never done this before, so I hope this goes well. Just bear with me. And I also just wanted to say that I am so grateful to COCA to let me do this. I think this is, despite the circumstances, it's a great opportunity to teach our students and kids that fashion and art, in a time of crisis, we can put our skills to use to help the greater good. So stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing I did was I created a pattern. For me, it's easier to lay it out on the fabric and trace it. So what I did, I used oak tag. It's what I had laying around the house. You want to create a 9-inch by 7-inch long rectangle. Now, you could use computer paper, you could use notebook paper, whatever kind of paper you have laying around the house will work, but I would emphasize using a pattern of some kind. Okay, so after you have cut out your paper pattern, you're going to set it aside for a moment and make sure that your fabric is either single folded, or in my case, I decided to double fold it to cut out time, and I can get more without kind of exerting myself too much. So I have a total of 4 layers here, if you can see that. Then I'm going to take my pattern and I'm going to place it so that my 9-inch mark, like so, is going with the grain. So it looks like this. So when I'm ready, I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to outline it like I already did, and then you can even just flip it and you can outline it again so that you can just keep going and going until the entire fabric is marked. Okay, so I have marked my pattern throughout my fabric, and I have a total of 15 squares, which is actually going to give me a total of 30 masks because I double folded my fabric. And now we're ready to start cutting. I forgot to mention that you should really only be using cotton fabric for these masks, though they're washable, and that seems to be the general consensus of what we're working with right now. As much as I would love to make some sequin face masks, that's really not an option right now. So you will need a total of 2 squares for every mask. So 1, 2. I am actually considering using 3 to serve as some kind of filtration system. So we'll sew those together. So you need at least 2, or you can even do 3, up to you. Also, you are going to need either skinny elastic. I am going to cut it at 14 inches. You're gonna need 2 pieces, so cut it at 14. Boom. Like so. There's one. And then we're gonna cut another one at 14 inches. Like so. So you are going to need 2 pieces of elastic. Alternative options are using ribbon. I am considering using this because despite the season not getting started off so great, I'm doing some Cardinals Inspire face masks. Whatever it takes to bring a little joy to anyone right now, right? So 2 to 3 pieces of our cotton squares and then 2 pieces of 14-inch elastic, and we're gonna get ready to sew. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna wanna do is mark a 1/2 inch from the top of your square and a 1/2 inch from the bottom of your square down here. So you can just make a tiny little slit. You can't really see it. I tell my kids all the time, just make like a little notch, okay? You can barely see it, like that much, okay? So you're gonna do that on all 4 sides, top and bottom, 1/2 inch from the top, 1/2 inch from the bottom, okay? After you do that, you're gonna take your elastic, 1 piece, like so, and you're gonna match it up with your top notch right here and pin it. You're gonna match it up with the other top notch on this side. And pin it. And then you'll do the same thing for the bottom part down here. So pin right there where our bottom notch is. And pin on this side to line up with our other bottom notch. Make sure you don't get your elastic twisted. Make sure it's staying straight. That's always an issue. So you should have 2 elastics pinned on like so. Okay, now we're gonna get ready to sew. A little sewing 101. Make sure you take your pins out before you sew. You don't want to ruin your needle and have to make a curbside trip to Joann's. So take your pin out before you start sewing, do a couple stitches, make sure you back stitch. Let's double enforce it. Back stitch. That baby's not going anywhere. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring that down. I'm gonna move on to my next section. I hope you guys can see this. Woo. And I'm just lining it up with the presser foot. That's about, I don't know, 1/8 inch seam allowance, really. I'm just keeping it even, nothing crazy. A couple stitches, back stitch, and then move on to the other side. Okay, so after you attach your elastics and you have your threads trimmed, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take our other rectangular piece. This is our right side, this is the wrong side. The wrong side is more discoloration. We want our insides, the right sides, to be on the inside. So this is my right side, this is my right side. We're gonna sandwich them on the inside together like this. Okay? We want to make sure that our edges are even. And then I'm going to start pinning, everyone's favorite part. And I'm going to pin it all the way around. I think like 4 fingers apart is fine. That's what I usually tell my students. So you want to continue to make sure everything is even. Keep your elastic out of the way so it doesn't get sewn incorrectly. We want it to kind of just be secure. So I'm going around my entire rectangle. So far so good. Make sure my elastic stays in there, but it's not getting, you don't want it to like look like this when you're pinning. You want it to be inside, like you're sewing a pillow almost. push that in, match up our edge. So it's going to look a little bit like this. Towards the bottom right here, down here, I'm going to get 2 different colored pins. I'm going to get a red one for right here. Making sure to tuck my elastic back in. It's wanting to be difficult. Ugh. And then I'm going to get a green pin to put right here, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So green pin right here. The reason I'm doing that is because we are going to leave an opening from the green pin to the red pin so we can turn it inside out. So we'll start at the green pin, we'll sew it all the way around every corner going up, and then we'll stop at our red pin right here, so we will have an opening like so. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to start at this green pin right here. Like I said before, I'm keeping the seam allowance even with the presser foot, so it's like 1/8 of an inch, or 1/8 inch seam allowance. Couple stitches, back stitch always. When I get to that corner, I'm going to leave my needle in. I am going to lift my presser foot and turn to pivot, and then I'm going to take my pin out and put my presser foot back down and keep going. Take your pin out, keep it moving, keep it light. Same thing when I get to my next corner. Leave my needle down, lift my presser foot, turn to pivot, and put my presser foot back down. We're almost there, making sure my elastic's staying out of the way. And it is, thank goodness. And keep moving. Last one, needle down, presser foot up, pivot and turn, bring it back down. We're on the tail end, folks. Oops. Dropped a pin. Alright, last corner, needle down, presser foot up, pivot, get to that red pin, and we're almost done. Back stitch right here, lift my presser foot, trim my threads, and now I'm going to clip every corner. So clip that corner off like so, clip this corner, just trim it down. My nippers aren't wanting to work. And trim my corner like so. Just so you see, we're trimming the corner like that. So we're going to trim that last one. And we're going to turn it inside out. So it looks like that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to find that opening we left right here, and we're going to turn our fabric inside out so the right side comes out. Our elastic should be coming out. That might help us. And it's actually starting to look like a mask. Okay, you're going to want to to take some kind of pen rather, and poke your corners out like that. A pencil works great. Shout out to my Aunt Cindy for making me my own homemade corner turner. I appreciate it. Okay, and now we're going to take everything with our beautiful pointed corners over to an iron. Okay, so when you're at the iron, you're going to fold your mask in half like so. Move your elastic out of the way. You're going to press that crease in half. We're going to open it up, and then we're going to divide it into 4. So we're going to fold it again right where that crease is that we just made. We're going to press it again. Don't burn your fingers. And then we're going to match the top part up again. So we're folding it into 4s. And press that. So we're creating a fold for our next step where we're going to be making pleats. And then when we open it back up, it's gonna look a little bit like that. Okay, so this next part is probably gonna be the most tricky for some people. You should have 3 creases, 1 in the center and at the close to the bottom right here. So we have 3 pleats, okay? What we're gonna do next, you're gonna need some kind of seam gauge or a ruler of some kind. You're going to measure a 1/2 inch uptake from where your crease is. So we're kind of creating a pleat, if you will. So a 1/2 inch, like so, and then we're gonna pin that down. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the other side on that same crease. We're gonna do a 1/2 inch uptake. And just make sure it's about a 1/2 inch like that. And we're gonna pin that side. And then we'll do the same thing for our next crease. We're gonna take a 1/2 inch up. Pin it, and move on over to the next side. Should be about a 1/2 inch. It is, and pin it. Move down to our last side. We're going to measure a 1/2 inch. Take that up. And pin it. Is that 1/2 inch? Yes. So you can kind of see it starting to look like an actual mask. So we're going to go on to our last side over here. I'm going to kind of eyeball this one and then I'll check it. Is it a 1/2 inch? She is. And pin it. And now, as you can see, it's going to start to look like an actual mask with those pleats going. Okay? For this last part, we're going to top stitch all around all 4 corners. So with that, we'll be closing up that hole that we had left open when we turned the mask inside out. Just line it up with the edge of your presser foot And then we're also going to make those pleats stay in place by doing so. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning of your stitch. Make sure you take your pins out. So we're creating and holding that pleat for the mask. And like before, when you get to that corner, leave your needle in, lift your presser foot and turn it. So we're going to close up that hole that we had before when we were top stitching. Okay, back to my corner. I'm going to lift and turn and sew these pleats down. Take your pin out as you go. When you get to that last corner, same thing, needle in, press your foot up, bring it back down. You're going to back stitch at the end. Trim your threads off. And you have created a mask. Okay. Here's what a finished mask should look like. It should cover the nose and it should cover a bit of the chin. The reason why I wasn't doing the elastic from over the ear is because people were saying that can become uncomfortable over time. So I just did elastic all the way around the head instead in both sections. You might need to adjust that bottom elastic, so you may have to like tighten it a little. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you don't have any issues. If you do, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. My account is LA_Cram, CRAM, or you can reach me by email through COCA. Stay safe, everybody. Hope we get through all this together. I hope to see all of my students soon. Be good to each other. Much love.